Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. So if you remembered over the past, let's say a year and a half, all these crazy conspiracy theorists, these nut jobs that keep telling everyone that this whole health crisis is going to lead us up to a point that if you don't have the right paperwork and the right identification on your phone that can be scanned and biometrics, that you won't even be able to go to a grocery store and purchase your food. I mean, how insane is that? There's just no way we would ever get to that place. We would never see that in a lifetime, that they would tell regular people that have no criminal record, that aren't ill, that are just normal everyday people, that you can't even buy food for your family if you don't have the proper paperwork that proves that you took the stuff that we told you to take. I mean, come on. Like, look at this stuff in France. These people trying to buy groceries in France. Just look at this. I mean, we would never see something like this, right? Folks, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. I could show you other videos, some in Australia where children, 12-year-old children on the street are being pepper sprayed and put into custody because they're not wearing a proper mask. There are people being pulled out of their homes. Children are being separated from their parents in places on this planet because of this health crisis. We're now being told here in the United States that not only are federal workers, contract federal workers, military personnel, contractors for the military, and many, many other people in private industry must in fact get the thing or they don't have a job. Now we're saying that anyone that works for a nursing home, if you're a nursing home staff and your nursing home receives some kind of federal funding, which I don't know the numbers, but I'm going to guess that's a lot because, well, most people in the nursing homes that are living in a nursing home, most of them are receiving some type of disability or Social Security or Medicare or something to fund their stay, or at least partially fund their stay. So I'm going to assume that's everyone, or most everyone that works at a nursing home, that you don't have a job unless you get this, or your nursing home just doesn't get the money from the feds. I mean, this is happening on a rapid basis. All this stuff that's going on in Afghanistan, really bad stuff, okay? I also suspect more and more, and I did from the beginning, I haven't mentioned anything on here, and I'm not going to really talk about it today. I also believe that there's definitely some fakeness to it. Let me just put it that way. We'll go into that maybe in another video, probably not on this platform on YouTube. But there's definitely a distraction going on. As bad as things are over there, there's a distraction, and there's things happening all over the world, and especially right here in the United States, that are going to catch a lot of people off guard. This is all part of their plan. I mean, we've been talking about this for almost 2 years now, and many other folks just like myself, and a lot of you are aware of it. You know, all the way with the World Economic Forum, going back to the Event 201, the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, all of these different programs and agendas and goals that they have set for the future is to completely change, reset, and redo how we live in this world. Everything from politics to the environment to business to health to how you can even raise your child and your family. And then, of course, we've been hearing for several days now that, well, there could be threats from these crazy, wackadoo, patriotic Americans that, you know, are anti-healthcare provisions, to try to put it in a in a censor-free way. It amazes me that the past at least 4 years, but you can go back way further than that, but let's just say the last 4 or 5 years, that one thing has been proven for sure is that alphabet soup agencies like the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the DHS are pretty incompetent on actually investigating and stopping crime. I could give you countless examples, and many of you can do the same, but it's amazing that they got this one right. that they called it just a few days ago, not very long ago. They issued their bulletin to let everyone know that there could be some really bad people out there that are just a little too patriotic, that won't follow orders, that won't get the thing, and that doesn't like all the provisions putting in place because of health, nationwide health reasons. And guess what? Someone actually did it. That's right. In case you haven't heard today, if you've been living under a rock for the day away from the news, apparently a guy went to Washington, D.C. and made some claims that he was going to blow things up. Well, believe what you want, but I'll just come right out and say it. I don't believe this guy is legitimate. I don't believe that he's who they say he is. And news headlines are saying Trump supporter, makes threats. Now, to let you know, they have caught the guy. He gave up. There's video of him coming out of his vehicle and giving up and going into custody. So it's all over. But he made some live stream videos while he was sitting in his truck. And this is how I'm basing it on, okay? This is the only thing I'm truly basing it on. I'm originally from Eastern Tennessee. Yes, in the Smoky Mountain area. And I currently live and have lived all my adult life and most of my childhood in the deep hills of the Ozark Mountains. So when it comes to understanding hillbillies, rednecks, hicks, country people, I assure you I do, okay? Because I have lived in the two places in this country that are most well known for, they're just backwoods hillbillies. This guy is talking like he's something out of a "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" movie. It's ridiculous. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people here in the Ozarks or in Tennessee or in other places in this country, especially down south, that don't talk like it. There are certainly people that speak in a very country twang and hillbilly lingo. But this guy's fake, okay? That's just my take on it. He's fake as fake can be. Sitting there with his country talk saying, yeah, I'm sitting up here next to this purty building. Got me a big old huge can of some of the best and finest gunpowder they make. Folks, they're trying to play us all. They're trying to play everyone. They're trying to play everyone with what's going on in Afghanistan. I believe they're trying to play everyone with how the president is reacting to what's going on in Afghanistan. I was thinking last night, the whole point of all this from the beginning was to draw down troops from Afghanistan. And guess what? We have more troops now over there than we've had in the last year or so. They're piling more troops in. We've got China doing all the stuff that they're doing, making all the threats that they're making. Russia's buddying up with the Taliban and China also, making it look like that we're getting ready to go into some big global world war, and we very well could. All this is happening also at the same time that here on the home front, people are so distracted because they're focused on Afghanistan. They're focused on what appears to be an incompetent president, which I think he is. But I also believe it's being orchestrated and it's being done for a purpose. And while this is all happening, there are policies being put into place, plans being made. I don't have proof of all of it. But it does seem kind of strange that through all this, the vice president hasn't been heard from in over a week now. The president just kind of has been on vacation and goes back to his house, his home in Delaware, because he needs better rest. Walks off stage from answering any kind of questions. The questions that he does answer are absolutely ridiculous. And I know this is kind of the standard for him. I believe that we're all being played, folks. And my gut and my experience and what I understand of history, and I know quite a bit because I'm a little bit of an amateur history buff, that when we start seeing all of these things or just a lot of stuff happening, a lot of clutter, a lot of flack hitting us all at once, it's to distract us from something that's getting ready to happen or something that's being worked behind closed doors. What that is, how it's going to end up, I can't exactly tell you what it is and how it's going to end up, but I'd say it's probably going to be pretty rough. There's been little indication just a few days before all this. I've covered it already a couple of times on this channel, where there was information or things being said in the White House that indicated that they really did want to put this country under an excessive lockdown or mandates like what we're seeing over in France and we're seeing in Australia. But they're a little concerned with it because they were wanting to wait until the American people kind of reached that tipping point that the people were really wanting it. And we're starting to see that. I talked about a poll yesterday, and a lot of you said you didn't believe the poll. I didn't mention it, but I don't either. This poll was saying that almost 50% of Americans now want a communist-style control over the media by the government. They think that that's what's best for it. I don't believe that that's actually a true number, but it doesn't matter. That's what they're trying to say. And we have to read through between the lines and see that they're saying this because they're trying to let us know that we're close or at that point that we can start putting in these measures. Measures that we see in China, measures that we see in Australia, in France, in Germany, in England, in Canada. They're all part of the global community, and this administration wants to be with them. This administration doesn't want to look like that we're straggling behind, and that's what it looks like right now when, compared to the rest of the world that are the most advanced when it comes to combating this terrible illness. New Zealand locked the country down because they had one positive case. They went under, nationwide lockdown. This is probably where we're headed. There's certainly enough indication that the CDC, FEMA, DHS, and several other agencies are preparing for that. The U.S. military, the National Guard, whether it's hiring, training local agencies of what to do during a quarantine, hiring new personnel, additional personnel to quarantine people, building facilities, setting the stage for what's to come. So you've probably heard it over the last year and a half that it could come to a point that you can't even go to a grocery store. And I think many times we hear this stuff and we say to ourselves, yeah, it could happen. Boy, I wouldn't be surprised. Don't be surprised if that happens. But how many times have you ever sat and very seriously thought about it? Made a plan. What are you going to do when that day happens? Are you going to stand your ground and not capitulate to their authority and to their demands? Well, if you do that, then you have to have a backup plan on how you're going to eat. Henry Kissinger said something to the effect that, if we control their food, we control them. I mean, that's a very paraphrased quote of him, but he was right. They want to control the food supply. It's very important to them. It's not the only thing that they want to control, but they certainly want to control the food supply because they know if they can control the food that we eat and our ability to get to that food, then they can control us, because starving, hungry people are going to do pretty much what they tell them to do. And so have you sat down and have you actually made a plan for that? Have you thought about that? What are you going to do when that day comes? That day is almost here in places like New York, LA, San Francisco. It's getting really close for those people. They already can't go to a lot of places without, their little papers, their little mark to prove that they have taken the government serum. So it's just a short step away for those people to where they can't even purchase food without it. It may take a little longer, but it'll most likely get to the rest of the country. Sure, there will be states that are going to fight it, and maybe they'll win. But if they do fight it, I suspect, and they truly dig in and fight it, I think it's going to be a something that could turn into something of a physical nature. But if they don't, or if they end up giving in because of pressure, because of threats, there may come a day where you end up just like those people in France, where you are standing at the door of a grocery store. You're hungry, Your family's hungry. You're running out of food. You're like everyone else in America that has maybe 3 days of food in their house. And you don't know what to do. And you're at the store and you're trying to buy food for your family. And they're standing there with armed police telling you that you cannot enter the store any longer. You're no longer welcome here. You haven't committed any crime, but you're no longer welcome to come in and purchase the food that you need to live. One of the most basic things, one of the most basic needs for existence is food. And you're not even allowed to purchase that because you haven't fallen in line and gotten your mark in your papers from the almighty, all-knowing, and all-powerful government. Have you sat down and actually planned for what you're going to do? Have you gotten yourselves ready? Because this conspiracy theory that we've been hearing about for a year and a half, that's where this is going to end up. Oh, this is going to end up where you can't even go to the store and buy food if you don't get their mark, if you don't have the paperwork, the digital ID, biometric digital ID that they give you. And many people, including preppers and homesteaders and conservatives, have said, yeah, I don't know that it's going to quite get to that point. That may be just a little far-fetched. And guess what? It's happening already. Didn't take that long. It's already happening. So wherever you're at, whatever stage you are in preparedness and waking up to all this stuff that's going on, I encourage you strongly to begin making your plans for what you're going to do. If your plan tells you that you're just going to end up caving in, then I guess you do. But if you want and desire in your heart, based on your beliefs, on your morals, on the standards that you live by, on your principles, that you are not going to give in to them, then you better start making some plans, folks. You better start putting food away. You better start learning how to produce your own food and how to preserve your own food. You need to start learning how to provide proper security for you and your family and purchasing the tools. Read between the lines, the tools that you need to protect yourself. You need to do your best to live in a place that's the most sustainable place that you can live. You need to have ample supplies of things because they are going to cut you off. Yeah, there's already shortages. It's already hard to get some things. I hear people all the time, all over the country, saying that they can't even get the things that they need at their local grocery store. What happens when they won't even let you in the door? Folks, it's time to get your houses in order. It's time to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because this is more than just a health crisis. This is more than just some debacle over in Afghanistan. This is global. This is a great reset, a new world order. And in the end, this is spiritual warfare, folks. And it's time that we get things right. Because one of the problems that Americans have the most is that we procrastinate too much. We know that things are going to get bad. We know it. We know it in our heart. But we procrastinate over and over and over again to actually get ourselves ready because we believe that we have time. Oh, we have time. We still have time. Folks, the clock is running out. The hourglass is almost empty. It's time to get ready because we're seeing it. We're seeing it in other countries already. And it's happening and it's changing and it's moving at a very fast rate. And all this distraction going on over here in Afghanistan and all the distraction with a president that's completely incompetent and the distraction that it's probably going to have a changing of the guard in the White House because of all that is just a distraction because they're trying to take control of your life. They own everything. They just want to own you now. And that's their goal. So prepare yourselves in every way that you can. Because while I can't promise you this, I think there's a pretty good chance that it's coming. All right, folks. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.